United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Ms. Watkins, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Evelyn?
Here.
Mr. Tiller?
Here.
Ms. Page?
Here.
Mr. Steers?
Here.
And Mr. Lockwood?
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we will turn the meeting over to Mr. Hathaway for the election of officers, starting with chairman for 2021.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. At this time, the floor is open for nominations for chairman to serve during the 2021 calendar year.
Mr. Hathaway, I nominate Thomas Evelyn for chairman of the Board of Supervisors for the term of 1 year.
Thank you, Mr. Steers. If there are no further nominations at this time, I'll accept a motion to close the nominations. Yes. Thank you. Mrs. Watkins, please poll the members.
Mr. Evelyn?
Abstain.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Ms. Page?
Aye.
All right. It has been, Mr. Evelyn has been nominated to serve as chair during the 2021 calendar year. At this time, the floor will be open to elect Mr. Evelyn as the chairman to serve a term of 1 year. Take a motion.
I move that we elect Supervisor Evelyn as chairman for 2021.
Thank you. Mr. Evelyn has been, motion has been made to elect Mr. Evelyn to serve as chair for 2021. At this time, Mrs. Watkins, will you please poll the members?
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Mr. Steers? Aye. Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
Abstain.
And Ms. Page?
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Evelyn.
Thank you. Before we move on, I would like to, I got to take this thing off. Give Ms. Page an appreciation of her being the first woman chairwoman of New Kent County. And I feel like this plaque should have a mask over top of it because all she's been through. So with her leadership this year, she was down here to fight COVID, and she's down here keeping us, all our board members, up to date of what was going on, working with staff. And everything you did this year with all the circumstances we all had, personally as well. And I'd like to, on behalf of the board, I guess we gotta do this? Yeah.
If I could for one moment, I would just like to just say what an honor to serve as chair, and also to thank each and every one of our board members. Surely someone probably could have done it better, but I truly want you to know that I serve with my whole heart and with as much mind as I have. I truly wanted to do an excellent job and serve this county that I love so much well. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Mr. Hathaway and his staff of Justin and Krista and Ms. Watkins. And let's just throw the county attorney in there too. But just thanking you all so much for your guidance and tolerating me. So I'm so appreciative, and thank you again. And congratulations, Mr. Evelyn.
Thank you. All right, well, let's move on with the agenda. I will take nominations for vice chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir.
nominate Tommy Tiller for vice chair of the Board of Supervisors for the term of 1 year.
I'll ask to close the nominations.
Mr. Evelyn, I move, Mr. Chairman, I I move that we close the nominations for vice chair.
Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Steers? Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next, the motion to elect vice chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I move to elect Tommy Tiller as Vice Chair of the Board of Supervisors for the term of 1 year.
Thank you, Ms. Lockwood. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Steers? Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Abstain.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Congratulations, Ms. Tiller.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the election of clerk and deputy clerk for fiscal year 2021. So I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Page,
Can we nominate both of them at the same time?
that's the way I read, yep.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I elect Ms. Rhonda Hathaway as the clerk and Ms. Wanda Watkins as the deputy clerk for FY 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Any comments? If none, Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Steers? Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. All right, next item is the regular meeting schedule. I assume everyone had to took a chance to look at this. Does anybody have conflicts?
Mr. Chair, I would ask the board to entertain moving the date of the week of September the 13th to another to another meeting night.
All right, September 13th.
We normally do it the Tuesday after Labor Day.
So that'd be the. Yeah, Labor Days be the 6th. What about the 8th? Because we have a work session on the 29th. So if we push it past if we go past the 13th, that'd be kind of close. Is everybody okay with the 8th?
Yes, sir.
Any other conflicts with any board members? If none, Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we accept the meeting schedule for 2021 with the change in date from September the 13th to September the 8th.
8th, all right.
I'm getting ready to miss a meeting already. Okay.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any comments? Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Steers? And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next item is the review and adoption of bylaws. It's my understanding as long as there's no changes, they can be adopted tonight, but if there are changes, they have to be 30 days have to.
They can be adopted tonight with no changes. Yes, sir.
Do board members or staff see any need for any changes?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Tiller?
I move that the bylaws be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Steer?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. All right, moving on through. Next item is the consent agenda. I assume all the board members had taken a chance to review and go over the consent agenda. Are there any changes or mistakes that need to be recorded, changed?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Page?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Ms. Page? Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is a special presentation to Ms. Crump. I think Ms. Page, Ms. Crump cannot be here tonight, but I think you're still going to read the resolution.
Yes, sir. I contacted Ms. Nellie Crump, and she said because this pandemic we're in, and she said she doesn't go a lot now. So I will make sure I hand deliver on this resolution to her. It's from the Board of Supervisors of the County of New Kent, R-49-20. A resolution in honor and recognition of Ms. Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump for her service to New Kent County and our community. Whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump was married to the late Joseph G. Dusty Crump Jr., and from that marriage have 3 children. Their son John, who is a former New Kent Commissioner of Revenue, and daughters Catherine and Pamela, 6 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. And whereas Ms. Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump was born in Patrick County, Virginia, but has lived the majority of her life in New Kent County. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump has energetically served this community in church, school, government, and civic activities. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump served as an officer of the elections for 39 years and on the electoral board from 1998 until 2006. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump's love for history resulted in her appointment to the New Kent Historic Commission for 16 years. And in 1988, she joined the New Kent Historic Society, of which she remains a member. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump has been a member of the parent-teacher organizations, the Home Demonstration Club, and the Nellie Curtis Junior Women's Club. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump's interest in restoration led to the lifetime of restoring some of New Kent's older homes. Preserving history through the restoration led to the preservation and restoration of Aspen Grove, the Crump's home, Slatersville, Richardson House, Liberty Hill, and Branham House, also known as Cedar Hill. And whereas Ms. Crump found time to work on the restoration of the interior of the historic New Kent Courthouse courtroom, the jury chairs, and the old railing. And whereas Ms. Crump's love for serving God allowed her to use her talents at the Corinth Baptist Church, where she has been a longtime member, serving in positions such as Sunday school, treasurer, historian, and Bible school teacher, as well as being a member of the fellowship committee and the church choir. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump has been a member of the Chapel Memorial Association since 1952, where she was involved in restoring the building and refinishing the pews and the chair rails. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump not only restored homes, but also the old American chestnut tree, hit by devastating blight In the 1920s and the 1930s, this tree was virtually eliminated from the American landscape, but Ms. Crump planted several on the farm in hopes it will be a thriving species again. And whereas Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump has served New Kent County well, enjoying the rural character, friendly people, the historic atmosphere, gardening, and hunting, and considers it to be an ideal place to raise a family. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of New Kent County that the County of New Kent, the citizens of New Kent County, and the New Kent County Board of Supervisors do hereby recognize, congratulate, and thank Ms. Nellie Catherine Boyd Crump for her outstanding service and dedication to the preservation of our community and county. This is adopted by New Kent County Board of Supervisors this 14th day of December 2020. Rodney Hathaway, County Administrator, Patricia Page, Chairwoman. And Ms. Crump said everything that she did because she loves this county. I told her she had the hopes and desires of so many little girls as they watched her put roofs on houses and drive tractors and horses. And so we just congratulate Ms. Crump and thank her for her dedication, commitment, and love for where she lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Next item is the citizens' comment period. Could you bring the sign-up sheet up? No one signed up? All right, no one signed up, so I'll close the citizens' comment period. And nobody from VDOT's here tonight, are they, Mr. Hathaway? Okay. Next, we'll get into some, next part of the agenda is the approval of Resolution R-04-21, Plan RVA. Mr. Hathaway?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This evening you have before you Resolution R-04-21. This resolution is to amend the charters of Plan RVA, formerly known as the Richmond Regional Planning District Commission. The proposed charter amendment requires approval by all of the 9 jurisdictions in which comprise of Plan RVA. In this document that you have before you, there's a lot of changes, and mainly most of them are just wording, but there are 4 main changes that I'd like to go over with you in this document. The first change is it removes the requirement that the Plan RVA office has to be located within the city of Richmond. And that wording is changed to state that it has to be located within the district that it serves. The second change is in Article 2, Section 2. And in this section, it sets up a voting structure for all the jurisdictions. And the number of votes, and it shows the number of votes that each locality have, and that's according to size. What this section does, what the amendment does, it creates additional categories based on population, where localities, if they meet those population thresholds, could get additional votes. Based on the proposed structure, the counties of Chesterfield and Henrico would receive 1 additional vote. New Kent, with our population, roughly 23,000 residents, as you can see per this table, we get to have 1 governing body member, be a member of the board, as well as 1 planning commissioner. So we get 2 votes on the planning commission, Plan RVA. The other change, the next change that's located in this document is it allows 1 member to have multiple voting seats. So therefore, it's no longer, as it is currently, one person, one vote. One person could utilize all of the votes of a jurisdiction if that jurisdiction chose. And the fourth change that I'd like to share with you is that jurisdictions can now set the terms of their residents. Currently, each member serves a 3-year term. The proposed document would allow the jurisdiction to determine how long they'd like their representative to serve. This draft that is before you has been reviewed by the Plan RVA body and has been approved. But again, it requires the formal approval of every locality to put this into effect. This time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Hathaway?
Just,
tell
I guess, still Henrico and Chesterfield want something, regardless of the other 7 jurisdictions. They're going to get what they want.
Well, and you know, I've ran a lot of different scenarios based on the proposed voting structure and how different votes could turn out. And by those 2 communities getting 1 additional vote each, it really doesn't change. I don't think it will change the outcome of any decisions made by Plan RVA.
Because, I mean, I think they had votes from somebody from the airport commission that sat on that board as well, if I remember correctly.
There are some members outside of the jurisdictions that participate in Plan RVA. Airport Commission's 1 VDOT. There's a VDOT representative on that body as well, so yes.
It makes it difficult for the little guys like us.
Mr. Chair, I can tell you, sitting on that board, ever since I've been a board member, you have moments when I first started that you feel really lonely, and then you realize you have some other jurisdictions that feel just about as lonely as you do, and so it becomes campaigning every month. I can say that because of those efforts, they were us little guys were we were a significant factor in getting the Central Virginia Transportation Authority bill by urging Delegate McQuinn and Senator McClellan. And so, and it was just a matter of just befriending and hanging in there and making a lot of noise. And, you know, I could be a little noisy sometimes, and so can some of my counterparts. So the big contentment of this was really, it was a county about the size of Diaz, which was Houston County, and so they wanted to do some different things. We had several meetings about it, and with what they wanted to do, it would have been it would have caused a financial strain on Plan RVA, and so they said, let it go, and the feelings of the big 3 or big 4 said, okay, and they relinquished, as you see, a possible vote or 2. So regardless, we the second fastest growing county, but we good. We good.
I know we have good representation up there.
I do recommend that we pass this resolution. We're supposed to have a meeting this week. It has been canceled, but it's my recommendation, Mr. Chair, that we pass these changes to the charter agreement, especially with where they're moving the building or the location.
Any other board members have any comments?
I would just like to second Ms. Page's comments because there was considerable conversation with the larger counties recognizing how easy it would be for them to steamroll over the little guys, and that's by no means their desire. The conversation regarding these changes was very aware of how the smaller counties felt, and I was pleased to hear that during the discussion period.
Thank you, Ms. Lockwood. So the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Tiller?
I move to adopt Resolution R-4-21, the Plan RVA Richmond Regional Planning District Commission concurring resolution from member jurisdiction to ratify amendments to the charter agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Tiller. There are no other comments from board members. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Steers? Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page? And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next item on the agenda is the logger tax relief. My good friend back there, Mr. Ron Jenkins, is the executive director of the Virginia Loggers Association, is going to be here to present tonight. But with saying that, I actually do sit on that board, so I am going to recuse myself from this presentation. I would like to say that obviously everyone knows that I am in the logging and sawmill business, so I feel like I do have a conflict a little bit, even though I don't have any logging equipment in New Kent County. My business is the third generation business in Charles City County, which everybody thinks I moved out of New Kent, but that's not the fact. My grandfather started a sawmill in Charles City County years ago, but I just feel like it would be best for me to recuse myself, and I will turn this over to Mr. Tiller, Vice Chair, to handle this presentation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Vice Chair, congratulations, Ms. Pierce, and members of the board. I'd like to thank Mr. Hathaway and Mrs. Watkins for helping to get to this point tonight. We are certainly here tonight. First, my name is Ron Jenkins, as Tom said. He is a board member. He's a very good person. I'm happy to see that he will be chairman in 2021. I think he'll be well led, as I'm sure you've already been this year in 2020. But my wife and I actually reside in Goochland County, but we do have some property here in New Kent. We love coming back, and we actually spend a lot of time here. I'm actually here tonight to follow up on a request that we made in writing to Mr. Hathaway and to Mrs. Pierce, I believe, about this request to exempt the personal property taxes and machinery and tools taxes on forest harvesting equipment. And I can't think of anything right now in my career that is more important except for interstate highways, but that's at the local level. We are trying to bring this relief to our forest harvesting sector of the third largest industry in Virginia. That sounds wonderful, but except there's a story about the forest harvesters that often gets unnoticed, and they are very challenging, dangerous, and it's just an occupation that has, for a long time, needed some relief. So I am being followed by those who are really the experts tonight. I will keep my comments short and just give you some background as to how we led up to what the House Bill 1021, which I believe has already been made available to you, and so you have that background. I will just not go into that. But I will just say that I have 3 business owners that we represented tonight, and I would like for them to help me with this presentation. I think you'll be well served by them much more than me. But loggers have always compared themselves to agriculture. That is, many are farmers, and so with following that line of thinking, there are some things that are very similar, and this is what led us to this successful House bill and the law. So for instance, they both produce food or essential products such as fiber. We all use that in our homes. We know how essential that fiber products is compared when we look back at the early 2020 when our shelves were empty of paper towels and those kinds of paper products. We also know that we have single-use or single-purpose equipment. There are no other uses for forest harvesting equipment. You can't go out and build a road or build a home. There's just one single use. So if your markets are off and you can't use it, you're down, you're still making payments on very expensive equipment. And both are subject to weather conditions, and probably the most prominent thing is being subject to market declines, market variations. And we can notably look at Bear Island, just a county or so over. When it closed, those folks that used to produce and deliver to that mill were scrambling to find other mills, and they just don't appear. They're just not that available. And we are short distance, under 100 miles. Sometimes we have to travel maybe a couple hundred miles, but it's typically from the forests of the landowners to the mills. So all those things make it pretty challenging for forest harvesters, probably even more so than for farmers. But the Farm Bureau looked at this and said, your idea is right. Let us follow it through. We did a resolution. It went all the way through with a unanimous support of 33,000 Virginia producer farmers. So they agreed with us, and they agreed with the idea of exempting this equipment. Now, what they also had done this themselves years ago. So we were really just following a path that our Virginia farmers had successfully done and completed. And most counties have already took the option to adopt the state law and amend their ordinance to add the farming machinery. What we're asking you to do is to add the forest harvesting machinery, and in that state code, it's the same section of the tax code that will allow that to happen. So right now, where we are, I'd be remiss not to recognize Virginia Association of Counties also supported us in this effort. Virginia Farm Bureau, Virginia Agribusiness Council, Virginia Forestry Association, and Virginia Forest Products Association. Where we are now today, we have 10 counties that have agreed with the adoption of the state law, have amended their ordinance, and we have exemption in those 10 counties. So tonight, I'm asking that you approve this for, I guess, a public hearing, put it on an agenda, allow for that public comment, and ultimately approve our request. We thank you for your time, and at this time, I'd like to either recommend or introduce Dan Hockenberger, Ray Sickle, and Drew Cochran, who will speak on behalf of owners, if that would be okay with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ron. Good evening. Thanks for allowing us the opportunity to speak. My name is Daniel Hockenberger. I live 5041 Lynn Lake Court in Barhamsville. I also own a business here in New Kent. The business is located at Parham's Landing Court. I've been in business since 2012, moved from West Point to New Kent in 2016, and that's about the time that I acquired logging equipment and started employing folks in the woods and truck drivers. Right now I have 4 people in the woods, 4 truck drivers. Myself and my wife does the book work for us, as many logging, as many logging companies do. I also have a contract logging crew out of Charles City County that also works for me. And we're talking about logging equipment. I went back. I have one piece that I'm currently replacing. I purchased that piece of equipment in 2016, so it's a little over 4 years now. I paid roughly $250,000 for that piece of equipment. Excuse me. And it has 6,300 hours on it. It's a John Deere Feller Buncher. And last year, 2020, I paid roughly $25,000 in repair costs. And that's just one piece of equipment. On average, one logging crew has 3 pieces. And there are larger companies. We have a couple here, and it's the problem with the logging equipment, it's used every day, and it works hard in the woods. It breaks down. You can buy a piece of equipment in 3 years. It's pretty rough. So you end up taking one piece of equipment, $25,000 in repairs after being 4 years old, multiply that by 3. It's a great burden. So any additional help from our counties to give us a little break on taxes would definitely help us out. I think that's about all I have here. Anybody else would like to speak?
First of all, I'm Ray Sickle with Sickles Logging, Inc., and I've been in the county for about 25 years logging, and I got 3 sons in the logging industry with me, and all of them live in the county. And we appreciate you all giving us the opportunity to speak, first of all, taking time to let us speak. And the industry has really changed, I would say, over the last 5 or 6 years. Our insurance has doubled. Our market ain't as good as it was. You know, kind of like you're getting hit on everywhere you go, which we just keep on trying to do it, you know, but the tax relief thing would really be a great help. If y'all would consider that, that would really be a great help. And like I say, I got 3 sons, one 27, 29, and 31. And all of them residents of the county, and they in the logging industry with me. And, you know, it would be a big help if, you know, if something like that, we could get a tax break. And we really harvest trees. We harvest them, we plant them, just like the farmer plant corn, he harvests the corn. When the tree's ready to harvest, we harvest it and to get replanted. So it's really the same, pretty much the same thing as what the farmers is doing. All right, I ain't got much to say. I appreciate y'all listening.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Drew Cockrum with Eastern Virginia Tree Harvesters. We're at P.O. Box 147 in Barhamsville. And we have about 18 employees. We're a small logging company, and most of our employees reside in New Kent County. And to kind of echo what these guys were saying, just to give a personal example, our personal property tax to the county is usually $10,000 to $15,000 a year. And you think if that tax did not exist and we have that back in as revenue, everybody thinks, okay, I'm going to put it in your pocket, but really we're going to put that as investment back for, you know, like Ray was saying about trucking insurance costs. That's a burden we have to face. And then there's, you know, I could take that money and basically, for example, I can add on to a piece of equipment, and that creates another job, that creates more revenue for us. That's things that we can improve. And for, you know, I can add a couple of jobs for somebody in New Kent County. It really provides us benefits down the line. And you see that Ron was saying we've had 10 counties so far actually adopt a resolution. I think what we need, particularly out east, we need one county to really take the lead and step up, and I think that affects the rest of the counties, and it really keeps our timber industry more healthy. You see it's the second or third largest sector of our economy, and timber harvesters and loggers, we're the backbone of that industry. We produce the products for all the paper mills and sawmills, and we know the effect. And particularly in this county, we have a lot of timberland, and we have a lot of people employed in forest products, whether it be at West Point Mill or in the logging industry. It's a big sector of this county, so I think this adoption would help us out. It allows us to innovate, allows us to create more jobs, and I think this county taking the lead and moving forward would be a great help for us. Thank you.
I don't have thank you for the presentation. My question, I think, is if we can get information as to how the exemption of taxes, what that amount looks like, or an estimate. I think that would be helpful for us.
That was what I was going to ask you about, Ron, if we could get an idea. I mean, I think it's that these other counties are doing it. And I know the farmers they get to help with their combines and other pieces of equipment as well, I believe.
Sure.
So,
and, you know, this is a good time to to look at this, as well as we're into our budget planning process for next fiscal year. I will work with the Commissioner of Revenue to see what the impact of exempting this tax revenue.
Anybody else? Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Tiller. Next item on, well, that's a public hearing. It's not 7 o'clock yet. Let's go to appointments. Appointments not delegated, delegated by district. I see District 4 and 5 are filled. District 3. District 2.
I have one right now.
Okay.
I move to appoint Charles Edwards as District 2 representative to the Board of Road Reviewers to serve a one-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, and then December 31st, 2021.
All right, I have a few. I move to appoint Patricia Townsend as District 1's representative to the Plan Commission to serve a 4-year term beginning January 1, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2024. I move to appoint George Tate as District 1's representative to the Board of Road Viewers to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2021. I move to appoint John Bragg as District 1's representative to the Wetland Board, Chesapeake Bay Preservation Board, and the Dunes and Beaches Board to serve a 5-year term beginning January 1, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2025. I move to nominate David Frank for Circuit Court appointment as District 1 representative to the Board of Zoning Appeals to complete a 5-year term ending December 31, 2024. If no other, Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members on the appointments delegated by district?
Mr. Lockwood? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Is this not delegated by district?
delegated by district.
Okay.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. All right, next item on the agenda is boards and commissions not delegated by district.
I wanted to appoint David Hurst as an at-large member of the Board of Building Code Appeals and the Board of Fire Prevention Code Appeals to serve a 4-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2024.
I move to appoint Michelle Gowdy as an at-large representative to the Farms and New Kent Community Development Authority to serve a 4-year term beginning January 1, 2021, and ending June 30th, 2024. And Mr. Lockwood, I noticed there's I had appointed Tommy Garthright to the, hold on before y'all go real quick, Ron. Before y'all go, there's an opening for the Agriculture and Forestry Advisory Committee. And I think a lot of those, all Ray and everybody, I think are mostly in Mr. Lockwood's district. But I would like maybe for y'all to consider that and maybe get with myself or Mr. Lockwood, see if y'all, by next meeting, we need to have someone appointed to the Agriculture and Forestry Advisory Committee.
Great idea, I think.
Well, I'll be in touch. So well, if that's okay with the rest of the board, we'll leave that open.
Okay.
All right. Thank y'all. Watch what you get when you come to a meeting. I see. Does somebody want to
April.
appoint April Miller? Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Page.
Move to appoint April Miller as a parent representative to the Community Policy and Management Team to complete a 2-year term ending June 30th, 2022.
I move to nominate Tony Wood for a circuit court appointment as an alternate representative to the Board of Zoning Appeals to serve a 5-year term beginning January 1, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2025. Any other?
Okay, and I move to appoint Robert Gray as an at-large representative to the Purchase of Development Rights Committee to serve a 3-year term beginning July 1st, 2020, ending June 30th, 2023. That's all I have.
I think that's it. If there are no others, Ms. Watkins, poll the board, please.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page? Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood? And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Regional boards and commissions.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Joe Swaddart as the New Kent representative to the Thrive Virginia Board to serve a 4-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2024. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Page. There's no others. Ms. Watkins, poll the board, please.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller? And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. All right, the next item is the board and staff appointments to county committee and commissions.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint John Lockwood as the board representative to the Clean County Committee to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021. Also move to appoint John Lockwood as the board representative to the Historic Commission to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021. I move to appoint Thomas W. Evelyn as the board representative to Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021. And I move to appoint C. Thomas Tiller Jr. as a board representative to the Planning Commission to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021.
Ms. Steers, you still want to serve on?
Transportation? Okay. I move to appoint Ron Steers as a board member representative to the Transportation Commission to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021. Yay, got you just in time. Also, let's put Mr. Steers. I move to appoint Mr. Steers as a board representative to the Agriculture and Forestry Division District Advisory Committee to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021.
Last one we have is the Airport Advisory. Mr. Steers has been on that.
Okay, I move to appoint Mr. Ron Steers as a board representative to the Airport Advisory Commission to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021. Think I got y'all?
That's all of them, correct?
Mr. Tiller, I move to appoint C. Thomas Tiller Jr. as a board representative to the Social Services Advisory Board to serve a 1-year term beginning January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2021. You did want to serve on that, right, Mr. Tiller? Sure. There you go. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
I think you did a good job. Thank you, Ms. Page. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Steers? Aye. Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller? Aye. Ms. Page?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next is appointment of Director of Coordinator of Emergency Services. I guess typically has been the chairman, and I do not mind doing that, serving that capacity. Hopefully we won't need it like we did during the hurricane. Besides, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Thomas Evelyn as the Director of Emergency Management pursuant to Code of Virginia, Section 44-146.19 as the Director of Emergency Services pursuant to the County Code Charter 31-161.
Thank you, Ms. Page.
I also move to appoint.
I think we have to
He
vote
got
on that
appointed.
first. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna appoint him crazy.
Ms. Watkins, poll the members.
Mr. Lockwood,
Aye.
Mr. Tiller,
Aye.
Ms. Page,
Aye.
Mr. Steers,
Aye.
and Mr. Evelyn.
Aye. I move to appoint Fire Chief Rick Opett as the Coordinator of Emergency Management pursuant to the Code of Virginia, Section 4.4-146.19, and as Coordinator of Emergency Services pursuant to County Code Chapter 30-162. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Tiller,
Aye.
Ms. Page, Mr. Steers,
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood,
Aye.
and Mr. Evelyn.
Aye. Next, we'll do elected officials reports. Mr. Lockwood?
I think we all got an email today from one of our citizens that had presented earlier last year about all the trash along the road and the signs and all that stuff. And I actually got a call from a constituent today as well that is raising that concern again, or still. I was kind of hoping someone from VDOT would be here tonight because it is a discussion that we need to have with them. Ultimately, it is their right-of-way that is typically the problem, that trash needs to be picked up. A lot of places it's not safe for residents to do it themselves, but they still do it anyway, thank goodness. So I think we need to, in the year coming up, we talked about it last year and probably just wasn't the right time with all the craziness in the world, but it is a problem. It's really a shame that this beautiful county is neglected by people that drop their trash along the road, don't bother to pick up stuff that comes out of their cars or trucks when they're headed to the dump. But New Kent is too beautiful to be left in the condition that it's in, and I'd really like us to have another conversation with VDOT, but also see what we can do as a county to address the trash that needs to be picked up along the roads. Thank you.
Mr. Lockwood, I couldn't agree with you more. I think we're going to be, hopefully Mr. Hathaway is going to be bringing something to the board VDOT's not going to step up to the plate. We're going to have to spend some money and get it cleaned up. It is awful the way the county roads look. Especially after Christmas stuff. It was bad enough as before that, but it's just blowing out of people's vehicles, like you said. But we need to do something sooner than later. I agree with you. Mr. Steers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If you remember last year, I proposed that the county hire 2, possibly 4 full-time employees working through the refuge site. And I hope that when we go to our retreat this year, that we can bring it back up and discuss it again to possibly, I don't know any other way. You can volunteer, get volunteers out there, you clean up, and 2 weeks later, it's a dump again. So I think wisely spending taxpayers' money to keep our county clean would be something that they'd be interested in us doing. Just a thought, but we'll discuss it at our retreat. Also, we've had potential flooding again on Route 60 East down around the Forestry Center, and I got a phone call last week from Ryan Taylor, our CSX superintendent, and he asked me to send a email to their home office in Jacksonville, Florida, about the flooding. And as of today, they have put in a sump pump, and we'll have that functioning, especially if we have more rain. And hopefully a 36-inch pipe will be installed underneath the railroad track, so that should alleviate some of the flooding down there. Also, about 3 years ago, our delegate at that time, Delegate Chris Peace, invited Rodney Hathaway and Joe McLaughlin and me to the Appropriations Committee at the General Assembly to request funding for repaving of Highway 60. And as you can recall, it was a 3-year project, and the first 2 years they repaved quite a bit of the road, but there's still a portion that hasn't been repaved, and from what we're told at the Transportation Safety Commission is that money was taken out of the account and used for emergency jobs in other areas. So I've asked our delegate now, Scott Wyatt, if he would try to arrange a meeting for us to speak again before the Appropriations Committee to see if we can get some more funding to finish the project on Highway 60. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steers. Ms. Tiller?
Well, to reiterate what Mr. Steers just said, because I think the portion that got left out was in Bottoms Bridge on the westbound side. And to this day, during the day and during the night, I can hear the empty trucks on Route 60 when they hit some of those expansion joints or whatever you want to call them. And I'm a half a mile off of Route 60 at least, and you can hear those trucks at all. I don't know it's hard to explain what it sounds like, but it's loud. For that, and then I talked to I can't remember the guy's name now, and General Services. Yeah, Rick. We spoke a couple weeks ago about possibly the airport transfer station, about them picking up the recycle more than twice a week. Because in the past month, myself, my wife, and my grandson have been by there to drop off recycle, and they had the recycle containers blocked off. And I said something to him about it, and he said that was something that they were hoping we could look into coming up to keep that open. Because there's a lot of people in that Bottoms Bridge area that recycle. Because there's a lot of containers there, and I can't tell you how many times I've been there and they've been full. So another thing I would like to thank this past year, right before Christmas, we had a little raffle here in the county, and I wanted to thank Krista. I thought she was here. It was cool for all of her help.
She's listening.
Coordinating all that for us, and it was a real nice event. It did a lot of good. So I wanted to thank Krista for that. And that's all, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Ms. Tiller. Ms. Page?
Yes, sir. I received from our Department of Social Services a flyer that they wanted me to announce for free dental care for our kids up to age 18 years old. It's held by Dr. Richard Bird and his associates, pediatric dentistry. And they named February Give a Kids a Smile Month. Even though they're located on Forest Hill Avenue in Richmond, you can call them in February at 804-330-0508, option 3, and reserve a time. And this is for New Kent residents or their children. There's no waiting line. It's appointment only. We don't have to worry about the bus line. And it says no financial qualification and absolutely no cost to the patient or to the parent. Children under 18 must be accompanied by their parent or legal guardian, and all children leave with a free dental goodie bag and supplies. So this is an excellent opportunity for us. If you have questions other than the phone number that I gave out, we ask that either you call 804-330-0508 or you contact the New Kent Department of Social Services. It's an opportunity the entire month of February to provide dental care free of charge to our kids from up to 18 years old. The other thing I have is when we speak about recycling, Central Virginia Waste Management, when they publish their numbers, all of their collection facilities have tripled. People staying home and just talking trash and throwing trash away has tripled over this past year. And so we're trying to work on resolutions that will be cost effective or as cost effective as possible for our localities. Congratulations to Rosie's. They just opened their new facility this week in Dumfries, Virginia, downtown Dumfries, Virginia. And so we would like to continue to support and congratulate them for their efforts as they work to protect their clientele and their employees during this COVID season. And I think what they do, it speaks volumes for them as a company. And other than that, just telling everybody to hang in there. This is 2021. And so there's a saying that I say all the time, trouble don't last always. So we have to be kind. We have to be respectful. And there's one thing that we are called to do, and that is to love one another. So we can always agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, we have to love one another. And we are a great county. And with our county, our home, I would ask that we be a shining light and a living example of that this nation can follow. As a veteran and a very proud veteran, I believe that we can do that. I believe that we will do that. And we just ask for your continued support of this Board of Supervisors and our chair and vice chair as we move through 2021 with your best interests at heart. That's all I have, and no more comments.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Where are we with VDOT and where we wrote up the some type of agreement where we could take the signs off the right of way?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, we forwarded the request to the Board of Supervisors, or to VDOT. I have not received a response yet from VDOT, and it's been a couple of weeks since I've checked with VDOT, and I was told that that was in the Attorney General's office, and they were waiting to hear back from that office. What needs to occur is the Attorney General office needs to draft an agreement between the state and New Kent for us to remove signs within their right-of-way. And once we get that agreement, we'll need to adopt a resolution.
Right.
But we really can't draft a resolution until we get the agreement. So we're waiting.
Should somebody call our delegate, maybe try to get a little help?
Mike can also call the Attorney General's office and see if I can talk to somebody about getting that moving. I'll do that.
Please. And maybe at our work session or either our next meeting, can we get an update from River Street on where they are? So, we got a lot of people asking about broadband. So if you could contact them and have an update for the board of where they are,
Yes,
what the outlook looks like.
Yes, most definitely. I've had numerous conversations with them. We've been forwarding information, GIS data, and other addresses to county locations to them. I could definitely get an update.
The board think that's a good idea? Okay.
And they do feel that they're on schedule contractually. They have until, I believe, April 26th to finish their plan, and they believe that they're on schedule. But yes,
I think it'd just be nice to have a kind of quick update of where they are.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
are you done?
I'm done.
I have a question for Mr. Hathaway.
yes,
Going back to Cox Cable,
yes.
I didn't know if they had reached back out to you or not since we spoke a couple weeks ago. I talked to Barrett Stork. Yeah, I spoke with him about a little over a week ago, and he apologized for being so long getting back with me, but the holidays fell in there, and he said they were kind of waiting on the state to see the governor's office to see how they were going to divide up that money. Is it
VATI.
Yeah, the VATI grant, and because he said a lot of the COVID emergency funding that came into the county, they received some, and they basically have to start over, or not start over completely, but kind of revamp that VATI grant to what it's going to actually do now.
Well, I'm not. There is something going on with the state as far as the VATI grant. Originally when that grant was let, the schedule was that they were going to make a decision late November. There's a possibility of some more funding, federal funds through the RDOF process and rule. I'm sorry, I don't know the acronym. But I think that has changed, or the VATI process. In fact, I got an email right before the holidays that was sent to all the jurisdictions that submitted applications requesting for additional GIS information, and that had to be submitted by July 8th. Well, we submitted ours on the 6th. And I think the reason they wanted that GIS information is they're trying to figure out what areas applied that will have access to the new federal funding through the RDOF process. I don't know how that's going to impact the VATI decision, and I'm not even sure what their schedule is right now for making an announcement, but we're still in consideration for the VATI grant. There is definitely, in New Kent, there is definitely an overlap in the areas that are eligible for RDOF funds, federal funding, in the VATI grant. So yes, and how that impacts us, I don't know. If we could get more money, I don't know yet.
So we might end up with too much internet?
Hey. Well, and I will say, though, it is very promising, though, with the RDOF process, which essentially was an auction for new frequencies that the state was auctioning off. I believe they were held by the military, actually, and they were unused frequencies. With this auction, the company that we're working with, River Street, the parent company of River Street, secured or is in the process of securing the frequencies for New Kent County. So that's promising that we're working with a company that may have access to other funding to bring broadband into New Kent.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we'll move on to public hearing. First public hearing tonight is public hearing CUP-03-20. Nathan Kelly, K-9 Training and Boarding. Ms. LeDuc?
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to give a brief overview of the CUP before us this evening, and Mr. Kelly is here, and I'll invite him to speak when I'm finished. Mr. Nathan Kelly has requested a conditional use permit to train and board canines that do not belong to him on his property, which is located at 4100 Liberty Hall Place in Quinton. The property is zoned A1 agricultural and consists of 6.71 acres. Section 98-16C of the zoning ordinance allows the Board of Supervisors to authorize, by conditional use permit, the enlargement or expansion or intensification or operation of home occupations beyond the limits otherwise specified in the ordinance. A use of this type is allowed in the A1 zoning district with a conditional use permit. The applicant has no intention of working with more than 3 dogs at any one time, and that is also proposed as a condition of the permit. The standards for review of conditional use permits are set forth in Section 98-744 of the County Code and are listed in your staff memo. Staff received no comment from any of the reviewing agencies or the public. I don't know if Wanda did, but I didn't. There are 6 suggested conditions listed in Resolution PC09. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the board. That was the Planning Commission resolution. I think it's PC03-21. These conditions will assist in addressing, protecting, and promoting health, safety, and the general welfare of New Kent County citizens. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit with these conditions. The Planning Commission considered this application at their meeting on December 21st and voted 8-0 to recommend approval. I'll invite Mr. Kelly to speak, and I'll be here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
Good evening. My name is Nathan Kelly, and I'm at 4100 Liberty Hall Place here in Quinton. As the agenda states, I'm here to request a conditional use permit to train canines. The current ordinance, as she just said, requires a permit to have a dog on your property that does not belong to you, which I'm familiar with. I'm new here to New Kent. I just moved here last year from Henrico. From Henrico's ordinance is actually the exact same. So I've already gone through the process there and went through the, and happy to be here. Their permit process was the exact same. Quick backstory on myself is I'm a police officer with Henrico County, have been for the last 20 years, and I head up the K-9 unit there. I've been a lead trainer, and I train all the dogs for Henrico County, Richmond City, Hanover, Chesterfield, Louisa, Goochland, Powhatan. I got a big umbrella. And my very small, limited personal time, I train private citizens, pets, and obedience. So that's what I would be doing at my own residence. I don't house dogs outside. I don't have a kennel run. I only train one dog at a time usually. There is no excessive noise, traffic, smell, nothing from my residence whatsoever. My previous house over in Henrico, I was on a 1/4 acre lot, and even my neighbors to the left and right had no idea I trained dogs. That's what I'm here for today. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Kelly?
I have just one. You said that you had no kennels there for them,
Correct.
so you're not going to afford kennels?
I do it indoors.
Indoors?
Yep. So if a client has a dog, the crate that they usually stay in goes right in my living room or bedroom, wherever I'm housing the dog at the time. I don't keep anything outside.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if there's no other comments by the board at this time, I'll open up the public hearing, and I see Mr. Kelly has signed up, so I assume you don't need to speak, you don't want to speak again, I assume. So I'll close the public hearing. I'll open it up for discussion among the board members. Anybody have any issues? The only one that I see could be an issue is, for me, is the number 4, conditional use permit. You know, asking the applicant to work with the health department to acquire any necessary permits and everything. To me, that looks like it's an unburdened requirement. I don't see why we need to put that on the applicant. I mean, if you work with animal control or something, it would be kind of maintain that. If he was neglecting the dogs or something, animal control would be coming out of there. Anything you can have to. My work with the health department is, you know, they're supposed to come out and perk your land, but you have to hire somebody else to do that. So I mean, I don't think they're going to be coming out there checking out this property to check the odor and everything and seeing how clean it is. I just have an issue with that requirement. I just don't think. I don't know why you want to put that burden on you. I mean, I would think you'd probably want that struck. I would if I was you.
I'm fine with that exception.
Any other comments? Ms. Page?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other comments, I'd like to move that we would accept resolution R-03-21, striking item 4 from the resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Page. If there's no further comments from board members, Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Ms. Page? Aye. Mr. Steers? Aye. Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you.
Next public hearing is consideration of one-time FY 2021 employee bonuses for employees of the Sheriff's Office and employees of the General Services Department who work for the county refuge sites. Mr. Hathaway?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. At your December regular meeting, You approved emergency action to issue a one-time bonus for members of the Sheriff's Department and the General Services Department that work at the refuse site. The reason it was emergency action is because the state authorized, mandated raises for certain members of the Sheriff's Department, and that had to be paid by a certain date, I believe December 15th. And we did not have enough time to conduct a public hearing and to notice the public as required by state code. So we took the emergency action, and now we're going back and we've noticed the public and we're given the opportunity for public comment. What was approved and what was paid on December 15th was a $500 raise, a bonus, one-time bonus, for members of the Sheriff's Office and a $300 bonus for part-time workers of the refuse site. All of the refuse site workers are part-time, except for one who's the manager, and he received a $500 bonus. I'd be happy to answer any questions. You do have an ordinance before you, which is in accordance with state code, and this public hearing is also in accordance with the state code requirement.
Mr. Hathaway, I'll open up the public hearing real quick before we take comments. Ms. Nagy, can you bring the sign-up sheet up? No one signed up? I'll close it. Board members, comments from Mr. Hathaway?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Lockwood?
I move to adopt ordinance O-01-21 to authorize and appropriate funding for an employee bonus.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood. Motion on the table. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller? Ms. Page? And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next public hearing, AFD-03-20, withdraw from the Big Swamp AFD. Ms. Adams.
Yes, Chair and board members. The applicants Sue Ann Martin and George Dennis Hockaday are co-trustees of the Ann Ward Hockaday Irrevocable Trust. They've submitted a withdrawal application to remove their parcel 4212, tax map parcel 4212 from the AFD. That parcel is approximately 92 acres of land located on 10921 Carriage Road in Providence Forge. They have also submitted to the Planning Department a large lot subdivision, and they wish to sell portions of the large lots that they're going to divide out to members of the public, which is not currently allowed under County Code Section 6244 or the subdivision ordinance 91-10. A couple of the lots in the large lot subdivision they're going to retain by some family members, but a couple are also going to be sold to the public. The AFD Advisory Committee met on this issue on December 1st and recommended a favorable recommendation to you for withdrawal, as well as the Planning Commission that took and reviewed the application on December 21st. Staff offers a favorable recommendation for removal, and you can do that by adoption of ordinance number O-02-21, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about the application.
All right, I'll do the same. I'll open the public hearing. Public comment. Ms. Nagy, can you bring the sign-up sheet up, please? No one signed up? Close it. Comments from board members? For Ms. Adams? No comments. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Tiller.
I move to adopt ordinance O-02-21, application AFD 03-20 to withdraw tax map parcel 4212 GPN E1830233109, consisting of 92.5 92.228 acres from the Big Swamp Agricultural and Forestry District.
Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, poll of the members.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller? Ms. Page? Mr. Steers?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next public hearing, AFD-04-20, request to defer the recreation of the Diaskin Creek AFD with exemption of tax map parcel 45-19. Ms. Adams?
Yes, Chair and the Board. The Diaskin Creek Agricultural Forestry District was set to expire August 31st of 2020. The district consists of 124 parcels totaling approximately 4,051 acres. All the members of the district were contacted by the Planning Department and informed that the district was going to expire back in February. And all the members indicated their desire to continue their membership in the district and requested that we recreate the district with the exception of tax map 45-19, which is owned by Mr. Edgar Walls. The supporting letters are included in your meeting packet. And as far as the Commissioner of Revenue, Deputy Real Estate Assessor, and I looked at the data, and all the members are reporting annually. On April 13th, the moratorium on creating and expanding the districts was issued by way of Resolution R2320. And I entered into several discussions trying to figure out how to interpret the resolution that was passed. And it was decided that we would hold a public hearing on this tonight. We took it before the AFD Advisory Committee and asked that we just defer the renewal of the district until next year and hopefully wait until the moratorium is lifted. But the issue does remain that we'd like to try to let Mr. Walls let his parcel expire. There's another note on page 2 of my staff report that was pointed out to me by the Commissioner of Revenue, that tax map 35-4 owned by the Crumps. They transferred a little piece of a parcel that was 2.3 acres without our knowledge, so we will take action to remove that from the AFD program at some point in the future, hopefully when we hear this in the spring. And then Mr. Vosnick, which is on page 3 of the staff report, tax map 34-34. Originally, he had wanted his to expire, but with the moratorium extending hopefully the district another year, he would like to now remain in by way of a letter received on November 30th. That are the 3 parcels involved that I've highlighted in red on page 4. The AFD Advisory Committee recommended deferral with the exception of Mr. Wall's parcel as well as the Planning Commission. And you can act to defer the recreation of the district by ordinance O-3-21. And I'll answer any questions that you have.
Hold up on the questions, and I'll open the public hearing again. Ms. Nagy, can you please bring up the sign-up sheet? No one signed up. I'll close the public hearing. Any questions from Ms. Adams? Any questions from Ms. Adams? None. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go for it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I move to adopt ordinance O-03-21. Mr. Hefty, do I need to read that whole paragraph? As presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page? Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Final public hearing tonight, AFD-05-20, a request to defer the recreation of the York River AFD and extend the expiration date to August 31st, 2021. Ms. Adams?
Yes, Chair and board members. Again, the York River AFD was set to renew also on August 31st, 2020 of this year, and by way of the resolution to implement the moratorium, this district got caught up in a delay as well. Originally, Mr. Vosnick had wanted one of his parcels that was in this district as well to expire, but since on November 30th has asked to remain in the district if the board so chooses to defer the renewal. The AFD York River District, the York River AFD District was set to expire the same time as the Diascon Creek Reservoir District. So the AFD committee met on this as well, looked at the applicants in the letter from Mr. Vosnick, and sent a favorable recommendation to you as well. And the Planning Commission did also, just renewing the district of all members intact with no exceptions. And you can consider that action tonight under Ordinance 04-21, and I'll answer any questions that you have about this application as well.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Again, Ms. Nagy, will you please bring the sign-up sheet? Anybody want to speak on this public hearing? No one signed up? Close the public hearing. Board members, any questions for Ms. Adams? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lockwood?
I move to adopt ordinance O-04-21 as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Lockwood. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Ms. Page? Mr. Steers? Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. I think we've taken care of everything tonight. It's my understanding have a closed session. Staff reports. I'm sorry. I'm a little rusty here. Okay, Mr. Hathaway.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As you are aware, back in November, we posted a request, an invitation for bids for the replacement of the HVAC system for the New Kent County administration of this building. That bid requires the replacement of, the entire building except for this room that operates off of its own separate system. If you go to the second page, we contracted with CHA Companies Incorporated to develop the design and specs and the bid package. The second page shows their projections, their project projections, which was $1,071,125. That's what they projected the cost would be, and the quotes that the bids that we would receive at bid opening. The next page is the bid list, which shows the bids that we actually received. As you can see, luckily, they were considerably less, with the low bid being Harris Heating and Plumbing Company Incorporated for $604,371. Harris Heating and Plumbing, they are located in Henrico County. Following page is what I received actually late last week from CHA, our contractor, informing us that they've reviewed the bid, they've checked the references, and they believe that Harris Heating and Plumbing is a qualified contractor to proceed with this project. If you so choose to proceed with the project, on the first page there is a motion, and the motion approves the contract of $604,371, and it appropriates the total project cost of $744,808. There's a breakdown at the bottom. This doesn't need to be included in the motion, but just so you can see where the $744,808 is coming from, which for the public, I'll state now. We've added a 10% contingency to the project, which is custom, totaling $60,437. There's also some relocation costs involved, which we project at $80,000. Now, this relocation cost will not only cover the relocation of offices during the construction project, but as you know, we've recently leased the Apex building. And that cost will go into preparing that building for the temporary relocation of the Commissioner of Revenue and Treasurer's office, but also the permanent relocation of the Registrar's office once the HVAC project is complete. What it involves is getting IT, networks, and outlets there. There's some handicap improvements that we need to make. There are some furniture purchases that we need to make as well. The big ticket item is probably the IT and ADA improvements that need to be made, such as curb cuts in the sidewalk so that people in wheelchairs can access the building. There needs to be a guardrail outside place. Some of the doors in the building do not meet ADA requirement. They need to be widened. There's some minor improvements as far as in the inside of the building, some reconfigurations of office space that need to be included as well. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Hathaway?
What kind of timeline for completion?
The contract gives 120 days from the date of the contract being signed. Contract is ready. Our county attorney needs to look at it again before we send it out, but I anticipate we can get the contract to the contractor by the end of next week.
Any other questions? Looks like we got some good bids. So. Well, no other comments, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I can attest to being in the building during the heat of the summer and the portable air conditioners cutting off and temperature rising here, especially with all the windows that we have upstairs. And different situation with the heat. Some of the rooms were extremely chilly, and even for those other than me. So, with that said, Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the bid from Harris Heating and Plumbing Company, Inc., dated December 16, 2020, for the replacement of the administration building's HVAC system, and authorize the county administrator to execute a contract for the bid amount of, are we doing the 604 to 744?
The bid amount of $604,370.
The bid amount of $600,000 for $371. I further move to appropriate $744,808 from the capital fund budget for the administration building HVAC replacement project to also include funds for project contingencies and office relocations.
Okay, Ms. Page, thank you for the motion. Ms. Watkins, poll the members.
Mr. Steers? Aye. Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page? Aye. And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye.
And,
Something else, Ms. Hathaway?
I have one other item, and this is regarding our daycare program through our Parks and Rec program. We've used CARES money to cover the cost of daycare for county employees and school employees' children, elementary school age children. We no longer have CARES Act funds. I'm happy to say it has only spent $9
benefit for our staff. It keeps them here and able to come to work every day.
Talk so loud, I didn't realize the microphone wasn't on. But I am proposing that we continue to provide free daycare services for our county employees and school employees for the remainder of the school year, or until the schools open up and bring the elementary school kids back into the school system. We found that by us providing child care service, it enables parents to have elementary school age children to come to work, and definitely our teachers to come to work also and teach virtually. Even though schools are all virtually right now, teachers are required to come into the classroom and give their virtual instructions from the classroom. So I find that it's a benefit, and I'd like to continue that. Now, the cost is already budgeted. The expenditures for operating that program is already in our budget. The only thing is we won't collect the revenues that we anticipated as well, but looking at our budget, we feel that we will be fine. We were able to use CARES Act money to cover a lot of our operating costs in a lot of other areas. So it puts us in a position to be able to cover this cost. Just some rough estimates so you have an idea of what the project would cost if the schools do not open for the remainder of the school year. Now, I'm not implying that they will. I do not know and have not had those conversations with the schools. But in the event they do not open for the remainder of the year, we project that cost would be $28,600 to operate the two elementary school programs that we're currently operating, one at New Kent Elementary School, one at Watkins Elementary School. There's probably, I haven't checked the last number, but there's probably about 30 to 40 kids in that program. And if it's okay, then I will proceed in that fashion if there's no objections.
Any objections? Or
Just a couple questions. Didn't the schools get more CARES Act money that came through kind of late in the game that they've got an extended period of time to use? And could any of that funding be used to offset some of the costs for daycare for teachers, children? And also, there is some expectation that as things kind of settle down in Washington, that there will be additional funding available, some other CARES 2 or something coming down the pike. We should probably ask our representatives to make sure the language in that funding bill comes through, that we can retroactively use those funds to offset some of these costs, if that is the case. But I would definitely like to know if the schools are able to contribute to help offset some of the costs on their end, since they did receive additional funding.
We can definitely have that conversation with the schools. Again, this is a benefit to them as well. I don't know the answer as far as, I know the CARES Act money that we've given to the schools has been spent, but you're right, they did receive additional appropriations of CARES Act money, and we can have that conversation, definitely.
They had a longer period of time to use that.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Okay.
any other comments? I would tend to agree with Mr. Lockwood. They have, they're not burning fuel with the buses as much. Anything they ought to be able to contribute a little bit, you would certainly think so. They ought to have some budgetary savings as well. Yeah.
Yes. And I will say too, the schools too has been a partner because they've opened their facilities up to have these programs, and their aides and staff, we're using some of those to work with our students as well. But definitely, if there's available funding, I'll approach the schools about that.
Any other?
No.
Ms. Hathaway?
No, that concludes it.
Mr. Hefty?
We have a motion for closed session.
Ms. Page?
I'll move it next time. Mr. Chairman, I move we go into closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A5 of the Code of Virginia for a discussion involving projects related, prospective business where no previous announcement has been made of the business interest in locating its facilities in the county.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Ms. Watkins, poll the members.
Mr. Lockwood,
Aye.
Mr. Tiller,
Aye.
Ms. Page,
Aye.
Mr. Steers, and Mr. Evelyn.
Aye. There will be no business taken after we come out of closed session. So the next meeting scheduled for the Board of Supervisors will be held at 6 p.m. on February 8th, 2021, and the next work session will be held at 9 a.m. on January 27th, both here in the boardroom. So we're going to closed session.